Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel. Give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description and do it now.
Unless you hate this video, give it a dislike. And Raider videos lately, it's been a mixed bag, John. Been a mixed bag. The Raiders lost to the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. They are now 0 for 3. That's Gruden years coached playoff appearances. Not good.
Not good. Not good at all. And we said going into this game, and we've really been saying for weeks when we just kind of dissecting that the Indy-Miami stretch with the Chargers game lumped in there, it's like I can't just look at the Chargers, bad record, bad team, because I watched the Raiders defense. They're terrible. I watched the Chargers offense. Their quarterback is sweet, even when Mike Williams has a bad back injury and Keenan's limping around. Doesn't really matter. As you're texting me like, who's this Guyton guy? I'll be honest, didn't really know. Had to Google it myself. North Texas, undrafted free agent. Eckler, undrafted free agent. Like, they are, it's not like they kicked their ass. Keenan Allen guy didn't have 200 yards. Mike Williams didn't have 3 touchdowns. It was a lot of guys that even a casual football fan that's like pretty into it is going to go, who are some of these guys, right? That to me is, there were some moments tonight. If you had just lost to the Chargers and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Hunter Henry combined for 300 yards receiving, Justin Herbert had 3 touchdowns, you'd be like, I mean, it'd suck, but I do think you could go, they're Jimmy and Joes who are elite first-round picks, high-money guys, Pro Bowlers, franchise guys, top 5 quarterback, beat us. That is not what happened, Guy. That's where, to me, it's like their quarterback kicked your ass with Guyton and Tyron Johnson and KJ Hill Jr. I don't know who these fucking guys are. I follow the NFL for a living.
Now, look, you can't change your defense in 4 days, but as expected, as we said, and we got some crap quite a bit for saying it, hey, don't think that Paul Gunther was the only issue. We want to fire him, fine, fire him. Like, the body of work was the body of work and it was bad. But this is a talent problem. This is a roster construction problem, A. And then, I've watched the Chargers a lot this year. You've watched the Chargers a lot this year for a variety of reasons.
I watch way too much Charger football.
Herbert's fans, they're just so watchable.
That's true.
They're so watchable. And, you know, like, they put Herbert's body on the line because they had to get to 5 wins, John. And dadgummit, they did it. We're going to get him concussed. We're going to get his wrists broken. Don't matter. We got to win 5 games. The fact is the Chargers, more often than not, find ways to lose. They find ways to lose. And it's not like a mystery how. They are all over the map. They make so many mistakes. And I'm not talking about the money badger missing field goals. Their clock management stinks. Their timeout management stinks. Their special teams, they're like 3rd down, 4th down offense, the special team field goal unit. It was a mess last week. We all saw it. They are not a tightly run ship. That's who just beat Jon Gruden.
Well, to me, I would say right now Anthony Lynn is kind of like the Freddie Kitchens, Tom Sula of this year.
Freddie Kitchens calling plays this week.
I know. I saw that. And I laughed out loud when I saw that name. Anthony Lynn is the guy that everyone's making fun of. Not because like people kind of like the guy. Clearly a terrible head coach. There were multiple moments tonight down the stretch of this game when Jon Gruden was, if you're just a fan watching, I mean, imagine 15 million people watch this. A lot of people are going, oh, Jon Gruden. You don't see him that much in primetime. Even Troy and Joe, I think Joe said, like, we don't call that many Raider games. I mean, part of it is the Fox, crossover for AFC. But still, like, Jon Gruden hasn't played in that many primetime games. Before the end of regulation, is their backup quarterback, so I'll give him a little leeway. But it didn't quite feel like they knew what was going on under a minute without timeouts and a lot of clock moving when they weren't that far away from field goal range, 1. 2, in overtime, they get near basically the 5-yard line. And on 3rd down, Guy, they were either at like the 3 or the 4, but they were close to the 5-yard line. They basically ran a goal line play in a league that, when I think the NFL now, I kind of initially think like spread offenses, just offenses out, not, multiple tight ends, a fullback, and a running back. That's what Jon Gruden in the 90s learned and clearly loves. But he spent 10 years, a decade away from football. And I'd say the latter half, let's say the last 5 years of that decade, the hype machine took him to another level, right? It really, those last 3 or 4 years were just like USC, Tennessee, I'm talking the Colts, the Eagles, like big boys, the Cowboys, Jon Gruden. And I was like, fuck yeah, Jon Gruden. Like he's going to come back. But I didn't realize he'd come back running this offense that play might have worked in like 87, guy. They had 3 tight ends on the field. They were at the 4-yard line. They weren't at the 1.
I don't think it was going to work.
The worst part.
Even if the ball didn't get knocked down, I don't think it was working.
He was still 3 yards away. The quarterback had been fantastic in running around. How do you run those plays at the goal line? I get running Josh Jacobs, but Mariota had kind of been a difference maker for them. Let him create. Let him, as the kids say, cook. And Jon Gruden kind of went old school. No, this is my ship, and ran some stupid plays, guy. And it's easy. I get Monday morning quarterback. Always look back after the game. That was pretty egregious. They weren't at the 1. I mean, and then he threw it to the fullback because it kind of felt like that was the play.
Yeah.
And we know, just watching Gruden forever, he fucking loves throwing to the fullback. Holy moly. That play wasn't even close.
No, and I guess he said, I'm just reading some of his quotes as we're recording this after the game. He said, if it was a bit closer, I would have considered going for it, but to take the lead with 3 minutes left, I thought was the play to make at the time. In overtime,
I get it. You got to kick the field goal in overtime, but to me, the third down play.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but I'm just saying, like, I think there are some people that would say.
But it's like, my point is, like, is Gruden, for $100 million, guy, it's kind of clear he's not Mr. Dynamic, right? He's already fired a defensive coordinator. A decade to come out, that was his defensive coordinator. In games, it's like.
Yeah, I would say for your money, you got an NFL coach, right? He's not a playoff coach at this point.
Yeah.
Not a playoff coach. And he's not anything more special than anybody else who's making a lot less money than him.
Yeah.
That's not a shot. Like, there's what is really the separating factor here?
If he had just been, if Mark Davis, instead of $100 million, had signed this dude named John Middlecoff that no one had heard of, and I was just doing the same thing as Jon Gruden, they wouldn't be blowing like the Raiders coach, right? If he wasn't super famous. Mark Davis hired a rock star guy, and I thought it was the right move. I thought he paid him all this money. He was going to sell a bunch of seats. But once football started, you don't really need a rock star anymore. You just need the head coach. Like Rockstar got the buzz, helped get him to Vegas. Now they need the coach. And to me, all they have is like this Rockstar famous guy. They don't have this coach. Like at the end of the day, Sean Payton is truly famous because he's a coach. Well, yeah, like Belichick, Tomlin. Those guys are – when I think Mike Tomlin, what do I think? Whistle, coaching. When I think Gruden – I don't even know. I mean, you don't necessarily just think dynamic coach anymore. I think personality.
Well, you certainly don't think dynamic coach.
Yeah. I think famous. I think rich.
You think rich?
Like when I think Pete Carroll, I think like energetic style, always competing. When I think Jon Gruden, I think, yeah, he's probably made
it works because he's won a lot.
Well, that's my point, though.
Yeah. I know what's your point. I'm agreeing with you.
Famous as Jon Gruden. You know his last playoff victory came in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then it wasn't very good after that in Tampa.
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster, yes. I don't think that's too strong of a word. It's 3 years in. There's 7-7.
Well, to me, all 7 and 7s are not equal. They were 6-3.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to 7-7 when you're 6-3 and good. Like it's not like they were, kind of smoke and mirrors. Like, yeah, they're a legit 6-3 team. You just move on. They'll be 10-6, right? It was clear. They were good.
Here's the other thing, John.
They've melted.
Here's the other thing. And I know you sent me this. Orlovsky did this big thing before the game. Like, this is about Carr. And this comment's not about Carr. But one other thing he said was just, you got Mahomes in Kansas City for the next 12 years. And now you got this Herbert guy, right? They just beat you at home, albeit home this year doesn't really mean the same thing. But they just beat you at home with a coaching staff that's not going to be back next year. With Joey Bosa in the locker room. Like, I know Derek Carr's in the locker room. So was Joey Bosa by the end of that game.
Joey Bosa ends up in the locker room a lot late in games. You notice that?
They should have beat you earlier, but they missed the field goal.
Money Badger. It's broke.
Where's the progress? Where's the promise? Where's what's next? You still got to find more players, but you've been looking for players. You got to find a new defensive coordinator, but your last one you picked, he wasn't a holdover. He wasn't good enough. So how does this get better? How does this get better? That's what I can't figure out.
Honestly, the more I thought about it, firing your coach, your hand-picked defensive coordinator, when you took a decade off on a short week in year 3 is a pretty, like, just say that out loud. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts.
To put Rod Marinelli in that spot.
Well, and to do that, but just to be in a position where it's as crazy and hectic and as big of a debacle, you have to fire the guy going into a short week.
How many coaches get fired when their team's over 500 in the NFL?
I mean, it's not maybe early in the season, like if there's huge disagreement and you're like 2-1 or something, and it was like lingering. And again, I'm just saying that I can't. I'm thinking off the top of my head. I
don't have an answer for that, but
it's not. I would say in December.
It's a bad sign.
In December, you'd have to do a study. Couldn't be many coordinators get fired with teams that are over 500.
I'm sure somebody will comment, hit us up, YouTube comment, say, "Oh, it's 7-7. They still got Miami. They just need Baltimore to X, Y, and Z." Okay.
No, we're not. Those games are over. Bye.